Hi everyone, and welcome back to Dimensional Wellness. This is DeeDee, and I am so glad to be here with you today, exchanging some energy. Today is the 13th, going into Valentine's Day, and I posted this video before, but I'm gonna repost it with a little bit more information. I think I deleted it. I don't even know why I deleted it, but I'm putting it back up. And it is 8:07. So if you've been seeing 87, maybe even if you're connected into the energy of Shango, this probably will be super significant. And I don't actually know what the connection of Shango to all of this is either. Because you know what? And I'm sorry I'm a little winded, like when it's a lot of energy, right? And we're about to come onto like a really big holiday of heart chakra and sacral chakra, root chakra activations. It's always like a big energy day for me, and I tend to get really winded. So sorry if I sound like I'm climbing 50 billion stairs. And I'm also in the house with the kids too. So let me see if I can kind of calm it down some. Okay. Whoo. Okay. So it's also 8:08, which for me is about Hawaii. So Hawaii might also be significant. Okay. So we're going to talk about the head of a secret society, and then I'm going to end it with a black bull. Okay. All right. So it was the year, I think this was actually during 2020. I believe it was during 2020, and a little bit of a story time. Okay. So I'm pretty sure it was 2020. It was December 2020, and there was something significant going on. I think it was winter solstice going on. I'm pretty sure it was winter solstice. If not, no, I'm pretty sure it was winter solstice going on. And so anyways, I got this hotel stay, and I ended up getting like 3 or 4 days to myself. So during that time period, I found this meditation on Gaia TV. And it was like a relieving stress meditation, because there was a lot that happened during those 3 days. I ended up like twisting my ankle. So that's why I got so long in there, because I twisted my ankle. And anyways, there was a meditation that I used as I was going to sleep. Okay. So let me back up a little bit. Let me back up a little bit to set the stage for this dream. Okay. So that was December 2020. So around, let me think, because I think this was November. So it was like the previous month, November 2020, I ended up having this dream where I like stood up and I told Ray, I'm like, oh, I know exactly who I am. And Ray was like, who are you? And I was like, oh, I'm Azrael, which, it's kind of Islamic mysticism, I believe, where Azrael is the angel of death. And then there are scholars who say that Azrael is not actually mentioned. But anyways, and I actually found out that it is actually called Israel. I actually got into an Uber after that dream with a guy who was Islamic, and he was telling me about jinns. He was telling me about a lot of different mysticism and stuff like that. I believe that he was Sufi, a Sufi mystic. And so I asked him about Azrael, and he was like, who is that? And I was like, the angel of death. And he was like, oh, you're talking about Israel. And I was like, what? And so he was telling me about how King Solomon was commander of the angels and the jinn, and, a lot about the mysticism of it, which I found to be very interesting. So anyways, it is actually pronounced Israel. which I'm going to link this video because this guy, I like to listen to sometimes. Some of the stuff he says is wild and off the charts, but a lot of it is stuff that I have seen in dreams and visions and things like that. So I know that he has got a pretty good handle on some genuine interpretation, even though it is wild. Okay, not a channel for kids by far. And, he can definitely be vulgar with his language too. So, not for kids at all. Okay. And so anyways, after that, I ended up having, this, experience kind of like in between being awake and being asleep, the kind of in between realm. And in this in-between realm, there was an entity that came up to me. And he came up to me as like this reddish orange light. Okay. And as he was coming up to me, he said, you are one of the Ilus. And I saw him spell it out, I-L-U, Ilu. And I was like, okay, all right. And then he showed me, I don't think he actually told me his name at that time, actually, but he said Ilu, and then he said Baba Ilu. And so I was like, okay, cool. So then eventually I realized that Baba Ilu, of course, is the gate of heaven in Chaldean tradition. And then Ilu is the supreme god of the Chaldeans. Okay. And so a lot of, Ishtar is also given the title of Ilu. A lot of them had the title of Ilu. So anyways, that's a little bit of background on this energy that presented himself to me and told me that I am an Ilu. Okay, so fast forward back to this hotel stay during winter solstice 2020. So when I was listening to this meditation with Gaia, I literally fell into the dream realm. And I have this happen sometimes, and this is one of the times where I literally, oh, look, a little black cat, look. I'm not going to meow this time. A lot of the time, I know I'm not the only one that does that. When I see the cats, I'm like, you are my people. And in this neighborhood, we just have a family of black cats. As of recently, I just saw a tan cat, which I was like, what? We never have tan cats. And then I saw a gray one. But the majority of the family of cats here are black cats. So regular black cats, and then we have the big fluffy black cats too. So anyways. So I dropped, okay. Oh, it's 8:53, another 8:08. Okay. So I dropped into this dream. So I can't call it lucid because I didn't necessarily know that I was dreaming, or maybe I just wasn't thinking about the fact that I was dreaming, but I was hyper conscious though. So I'm gonna call it hyper conscious. I was experiencing hyper consciousness. So I dropped down in the dream. So I was conscious of the shift between me closing my eyes, and seeing darkness and colors, to me being in the midst of an astral experience or whatever. It was actually wild. And so when I was in this space, I was in this red and orange space, and I was familiar with it because I had seen it before with this energy, right? And so I was like, oh, okay. So I started to see, oh, Caleb, interesting. Shadow boy, and then Caleb. It says Caleb is clear. I'm gonna have to talk about the Caleb dream another time though, because that's a whole nother situation, which is connected to Sion and also connected to the sons of Sheshai in the Bible as well. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Okay. So I started to feel this presence, and again, it was like a presence. So I didn't actually see an energy clearly, but I could feel the presence of this angelic energy. That's what I would say. Angelic energy. Now, I've also talked about in the Seraphis Bay one, if you listen to that one, that angelic energies are winged serpents. Okay, seraphim is like a high serpent. So I just want you to know that angelic energies are connected to serpentine energy. So I'm just gonna put that out there. They are winged serpents. Okay. Especially, right, seraphim are the highest angelics. I believe they're the highest, right? With the archangels and stuff. I don't know, but I think so. So anyways, I felt this presence coming towards me, and he spelled out his name in the dimension. So this is a red and orange dimension. Like, the whole reality was like this reddish orange kind of almost, not exactly tie-dye, because it wasn't multiple different colors, but it was kind of like reminiscent of tie-dye, I would say. Or, you know, like Heroes, they have those like kablam, and they show like kind of the ripples of colors coming towards the kablam. That's kind of how it felt like that. And like I said, it was mainly red, orange, and then a little bit of white in there too. But main colors are red and orange. So I saw the name coming towards me, and it was very vivid. It was very crystal clear, and it said ZDKYL. And I immediately was like, oh, Zadkiel. Now, at that time, I wasn't sure if I actually knew who that angel was. Like, I don't know if I had really heard of it. Like, maybe in passing I had, possibly. But, you know, it's not like Gabriel and Michael. Like, I've heard of them. I don't think I had really heard of a Zadkiel. So I'm like, okay. Maybe in passing, like, I didn't know what he was, like, connected to or anything, but I feel like I had just heard the name before. But anyways, like I said, ZDKYL, and I knew it was Zadkiel. So I was like, okay, hello. Hi. Hey, what can I help you with, you know? All right. Hi. So I saw that. Then afterwards, it was like he kind of turned my body to look to the left. And when I looked to the left, I was in that kind of, what do you call it? Like third eye kind of overseer, you know, observer position where you don't really have a body. You're just kind of like in the reality. So I actually was the reality, which is interesting. So I was the reality. So I'm saying that like my whole consciousness was taking up this reality, and I was looking at this guy. Okay. And he was, I was going to say preaching. In a way, he was teaching the secret society of men. Okay. And I thought it was interesting because the majority of people in the secret society were what we would consider to be white, quote unquote, white people, whatever that means. There were not a lot of men of color. And I understood that this was like a very high up group in this particular secret society. Okay. And this person was teaching the secret society, which I also thought was interesting. And this person, he like outwardly does appear to be a black man, but he is of mixed ancestry. Okay. And primarily from what he says, you know, mainly, Jewish. Okay. Which I also thought was interesting, because if you check out my Akashic records, Solomon's Akashic records, I'm gonna have to make sure I left that on there, because I might have deleted that too. But in that, I talk about how Solomon was a part of the Freemasons in whatever form that there was a Freemasons, he was a part of that. And it was an ancestral thing that they were a part of. So I found that out in the Akashic records. So Jewish and a part of the Freemasons is definitely a thing. Okay. And Solomon's bloodline it must be really important in the Freemasons. Okay. So, I was seeing this guy, and I understood that he was not a part of the rituals of the secret society, but he was definitely spiritually putting them on game. That's what I would say. And so as I was listening to him, because he couldn't see me and they couldn't see me, I was just a part of the reality, you know, listening in. And I was like, this is interesting. And so, and so as I'm listening to him, and I'm going to put it as PG as I can, but I was listening to him, and they were all in their like black robes. There were some people in brown robes, but it was mainly black robes. And it was literally like they were kind of like in little school desks, which could have just been representing them being taught, right? And so he was telling them about how you get out of the matrix is that you have to orally stimulate a woman. And when you orally stimulate this woman to her peak expression of pleasure, that there's something that snaps in her brain and that she is perfectly programmable at that point in time. And so you have to program her to be a bird. Okay. And when he was saying a bird, it was representing, you have to like program her that she can fly out of the matrix, and you hitch a ride with her. Pretty much that's what you're doing. Now, he was definitely not saying this like in a like positive light. It was definitely from like a pimpin' kind of, programming, like not very heart-centered way of talking about it. It was definitely giving like, the only way we're going to get out of here is to pick a bird. And it was very funny because he specifically said in this dream, he was like, and make sure that you don't pick no pigeons. And I was highly offended by that. Now, I don't resonate specifically to pigeons. I resonate to doves. But doves and pigeons are in the same family, though. And when he said that, I immediately was like, oh, okay, he doesn't understand about pigeons. And it was funny because like in New Orleans and probably most places, pigeons are not looked at as like revered birds. They're looked at as like, kind of like lowly birds, which I think is interesting. But actually pigeons are very sacred to certain ancient goddesses, which if you haven't heard some of my other podcasts, I view most of these gods and goddesses as very ancient ancestors. And then kind of like an egregor, we give them a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of offerings and stuff like that. And that's what makes them also very powerful, has added to their power over time. But I do believe that a lot of these were ancient ancestors. So like Aphrodite has a bloodline. Medusa has a bloodline. Zeus has a bloodline. So I just wanted to make that clear, okay? And then also, I did not know the whole time that I lived in New Orleans that pigeons could fly. I legitimately did not know until we lived at the hotel in Arizona when we moved to like this specific floor. I think it was the 6th floor we were on. And there was a palm tree. And there were pigeons in the palm tree, like living in the palm tree, like as like families. And I was like, how did they get up there? Pigeons can fly? And it wasn't until we moved to Mesa where I actually saw pigeons flying just to fly, like not even just to like get into a tree, but they were actually just flying. And I was like, what? Pigeons have been able to fly this whole time? And so it's really like they're just so comfortable with... they're just so comfortable with like human interaction and stuff that they just stay on the ground. I guess most of the time they just don't really find a need to fly. And maybe that could have also been the reason why but I don't know. I didn't really give that vibe. It felt like he was like kind of trying to shade pigeons. And I was like, hold on, friend. Because pigeons are in the same family as the dove, okay? They are also revered as a special type of bird as well. So anyways, after that dream, it was almost like a demonstration, which I thought was so interesting. So, he was talking about this with these guys and they were writing it down and laughing like men do or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is really crazy because, that's what I wanted to say. It was very much love bombing type of energy. So it was like, you basically love bomb this woman, stimulate her to the possible max. And then from that, you want to like, remind her of her power to, wield the astrals. At the same time, like love bombing her, like where you're giving her praises, but also kind of hurting her confidence so that she is bound to you and that like she don't go wield the astrals for some other person. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was very strange kind of vibes. And I was like, actually doing this at these sort of, so to speak, high levels? Like, this is wild. This is wild. So anyways, after that, I literally went into a dream with this person who was supposed to be the spiritual head of the organization, right? And we're like in this Walmart in New Orleans that I'm very familiar with. And we're like walking around, and then we like go to the electronics section, and like it was almost like a demonstration. Like, so this person like wanted me to fly from the back of the electronics section out the door of this Walmart to like fly off the grid. And so he was like, go fly. And I was like, I'm not about to fly. And we were getting into like an argument about why I didn't want to fly. And I was like, I'm not going to fly because I have family on this grid and I love my family. I'm not going to just leave them behind, because there is something, and I don't know the actual extent of it. And I'm going to talk about that in another video where I talk about electricity and, the reality grid, which is actually pretty wild. But there is like a point that you can get to as a consciousness where you reach, like, let's say, the quote unquote edge of this matrix, the edge of the multiverse, right? And when you reach that ledge, there is some type of form of a, like, not returning. And I don't know how to really explain it, but like, he was getting to the edge of the matrix in a sense, and not just like, this plane of existence, like the edge of the multiverse. And I've seen the edge of the multiverse in the astrals in some type of form, okay? And there is, when you get to that edge and you make the decision to like turn the page, okay? I'm hearing the song in my head, turn the page. It's like a country song. What song is this? Hold on, wait, because it might be significant. Hold on, turn the page. Is it a Johnny Cash song or something? Ooh, child. We know who does not know country music. Bob Seger. Ooh, child. On a long and lonesome highway east of Omaha, you can listen to the engines moaning out this one-note song. You think about the woman or the girl you knew the night before, but your thoughts will soon be wandering the way they always do when you're riding 16 hours. There's nothing much to do, and you don't feel much like riding. You just wish the trip was through. Here I am on the road again. There I am up on stage. There I go playing the star again. There I go, turn the page. Very interesting. And it's kind of giving me the feeling of like, when I was looking at him, because we were fighting, but, sometimes when I'm in the midst of like an argument with someone, which, I try not to get to that point, okay? But in the midst of us arguing, I was like, okay, hold on, let me like actually look at him and try to figure out what we're actually fighting about. Because I know like right now on the surface what our conscious minds are fighting about, but what is he actually fighting about? And it actually made me really sad, because I realized that he was ready to leave because he didn't feel like he had anything here for him. Like, there was nothing emotionally connecting with him in a certain type of way that he needed to. And so he was ready to get out of here. He was ready to leave this reality. So it wasn't like I've ascended, in a certain sense, maybe he felt like he was ascending and like he was like too old for it. But I was trying to explain to him, I'm like, no, I have people that I really genuinely, deeply in my heart care for. And ascension is not the goal for me. I've ascended before. A lot of people have ascended before. Like enlightenment. And I've said that like quite a few times. And I'm going to continue to say it because it's very true. Enlightenment is not the goal for everyone. Some people have become enlightened. But a person who has really genuinely reached enlightenment a multitude of times. And it's really about a multitude of times, right? Because the first time you are enlightened, it's such a, powerful and crazy experience and blah, blah, blah. But once you've done it a few times, you get like the hang of it, I would say. And you know, like the stages and the steps and things like that to like reach this enlightenment, you realize that like that is not the goal of life. Especially in the human experience. The human experience, like the one, like the most, okay, hold on. The most, difficult thing in the human experience is interaction with each other, interpersonal relationships. It's not about enlightenment, and enlightenment has the ability to take you away from other people, right? And that's what we see in the monks. They, totally discard everything of physicality, right? Same things in the Christian community with nuns and priests and stuff, which is not exactly true, because I've been reading about erotic mysticism in the Christian church, and that's a whole another topic for another day, okay? But even, experiencing intimate relations and feelings and stuff with astral energies, with angelic energies, with Jesus. Like, I literally heard a story about one of the saints who manifested the foreskin of Jesus, because she's spiritually married to him. That like, we're gonna get to that in another episode, because I need way more information. Okay, I don't want to think about Jesus in a sexual way anyway, but I'm just like, what? Because they don't talk about that stuff. They don't talk about that. And I'm gonna talk about the Apollo situation and the Vestal Virgin situation. We're gonna talk about that another time, because that's a lot. But my point is that I was explaining to this person that, I have genuine heart-centered bonds, and we have a heart-centered bond with someone. There's nothing on the plane of existence, mental plane of existence, that's going to get you to leave that person behind. And so I was like, I'm not prepared for this. Not that I don't, and I think that's kind of how he was taking it, was like that I don't believe that I can, or I don't know that I have the ability to leave. And I was trying to express like, no, I know full well that I have the ability to leave, but I don't want to. And I don't want to, not because I don't realize how much of a trap this is, or how crazy it is, or what crazy the situation or simulation is, but because I have people here and I'm not going to leave them behind. And I feel like this is like a really good energy to talk about for Valentine's Day, right? Because it is a time where we focus on our romantic relationships. We focus on people that we love. We get Valentines for our kids. This is a day where you celebrate the people who love you and who you love back, right? But it also can be a really good time to manifest. Okay. Because then there's a lot of energy. I get so winded. Like, it's a lot of energy with this, okay? It is also a really good time to sweeten negative energies to you. It's also a really good time of manifesting realities where those who you perceive to be enemies to you, or those who you perceive to be annoyed with you, or those that you perceive to think negatively of you. For some people, it goes to the extreme of people that want to kill you or off you or whatever. It's a really good time to sweeten energies to what the main goal is from a heart-centered place. On, like, if we are feeling with our hearts, and I give this person space, I give this energy space, I give this group space, that even though they are not here with me now, that there is a reality, there is a timeline, there is a expression in the multiverse where, even though right now we are not seeing eye to eye, that there is a timeline where we could come together, at least on a common goal, and not be enemies, where we can be friends, where we can be acquaintances, where we can be cordial. And you work from that space, you could shift so many realities just with that level of love. And it doesn't have to be a deep romantic love, it doesn't have to be a deep friendship love, but just love for unity, okay? And I'm going to give you an example. Okay. I'm going to give you an example, a recent example. Okay. So back in December, I was listening to this woman's channel, and she made a prophecy, and probably at another time I'll go deeply into it, but I don't want to make this like too long. But pretty much in this prophecy, she said that there was going to be an entity that was going to come and specifically try to grab one of your children. And so I was like, okay, then I need to really be on my P's and Q's, because I don't know why that is coming up. But she said it, and you know, certain things that you hear, you know that it's for you. Like, I couldn't be like, oh, that's somebody else's message. I was like, no, that's for me. Okay. And so I was like, okay, I need to like really pay attention in the dream world, in the astral realm, right? Because a lot of entities, especially when you are spiritually aware, they're not going to try to come to you like when you are conscious, you know, especially if they're doing nefarious kind of things or whatever, right? They're going to come to you when they feel like they can impact you. And a lot of beings can impact you in the dream, in the astral realm, especially if you haven't mastered lucid dreaming, which I'm working on that, especially if you haven't mastered astral travel, which is like interacting with and moving with and putting your conscious mind into your astral, into your Ka body. That's a whole nother topic, but that is usually the time where they can influence you the most, because you are interacting with multiple different levels of consciousness. And so they can kind of play around with your lucidity, which has taken me a while to figure that out. It's taken me a while to figure that out. So I'm like, okay, part of the reason why I've not been able to lucid dream and astral travel is because something does not want me to. And that's a whole nother story for another day. But anyways, so it was within the week after I heard this. So I don't know exactly the number of days, and I'll, you know, put that in when I go back and do timestamps and all that stuff and links. But it was definitely within the week that she said that, on a very specific day too. So I'm going to put that, but it was right around, I'm going to put it, because I don't want to say it incorrectly. I'm going to put it in the description box, okay, when it was. But it was around the new moon in Sagittarius, okay? It was around the new moon in Sagittarius, which was 1212, okay, which for me is deity level number. So whenever I see 1212, I think of deity levels, which is like, for me, representing the end of duality. And then 1213 is oversoul. So that's when you start, tapping into your oversoul, okay? So it was around that time. So literally what happened is that I was in the astrals with this black bull entity. And he had like the head of a black bull and the body of a man. And it very much reminded me of American Horror Story Coven, Bastian, right? Bastion. But I kept calling him Marchand. And it's very interesting because even today is like right before Valentine's Day, and Ray had a dream last night about somebody named Marche. And I was like, that's very interesting, because I've been thinking about this black bull entity that I've been calling Marchand, which is I feel like it's another Creole word. I feel like that's a Creole word, Marchand. So anyways, that's who he reminded me of. And if you watch Coven, then you know that this black bull entity was in service to La Larry, even in death. But the spiritual kind of person that was over these energies was Papa Legba. And as I was like talking to this black bull entity, we were having like a conversation about something. I don't remember. It was definitely spiritual concepts and energetics. But I realized as I was talking to him that he was like, I'm not even lying, he was literally like double dutching with my consciousness. And it took me a while to like pick up on it. But he was like double dutching with my subconscious and unconscious. And he was like looking through my memories to try to find a moment in time where I said yes to something that I really didn't necessarily really want to say yes to, but I went ahead and said yes to it anyway. And so as we were talking, I started to pick up on it because I could start to sense it. You know, at first you have senses and you don't know exactly where it's coming from. But I trust myself that eventually I'm going to figure out where it's coming from. So, you know, I'm not over eager of like, what are you doing? I'm just like, okay, he's acting strange. He's acting weird. But I'm sure it's going to come out over time. Why? Okay, so I guess it's also kind of setting intention, whatever. So I realized that that's what he was doing because his end goal was to take my son. And it was exactly what this woman had said, that there's an entity who wants your child. And so when I was talking to him, I was like, you know, I'm not giving you my child. Like, let's be for real. Like, I guess you thought that I wasn't as conscious, and so you were going to try to like go into, which was very tricky, and it was like a really good plan. But you are like mistaking the fact that I can't get out of body for that I am disconnected from these aspects of me. And to a certain extent I am. But it is not like because I don't know about them. I'm like, there's something that's going on that I have not figured out yet. And I was like, you know that I'm not going to give you my child, right? And he was looking at me shocked, like he didn't know that I could see him trying to play with my consciousness to make me say yes through a different aspect of me, to say yes to him taking my child. That's what he was trying to like line up in our present conversation with something from the past that had nothing to do with the present conversation. But he was trying to get like a sneaky way of me saying yes. Right? And why would he be doing that? Because he knew I was not going to give him my child willingly, consciously, in any type of way. And so as I was sitting there and I was looking at him, I was like, you really tried it. Like you really tried it. And so I'm like, okay, because we're gonna have to have a real conversation here. Because I'm just going to assume that you don't know what you're doing. And you don't know even the deeper motives as to why you're doing this. And I'm really trying to figure out what energy sent you over here to try this in the first place, because that's a whole nother conversation. But I was like, let me just break this down to you in a very simplistic way. Is that at no point in time during even my pregnancy did I ever see you in a dream. Never. No time in me raising this child had I ever felt your presence around, that you were helping me with this baby when he was up crying throughout the night or anything. There's never been a time that I have received a package of diapers or wipes or someone handing me some money to get this baby any type of items that had a black bull emblem on it. In some type of way, you think that because you are connected to deity energy or whatever you're connected to, you think that you are entitled to a child that you have done nothing for? I just want to put this into perspective because you done lost your mind. Okay? And I'm telling you that this is how you have to talk to these energies. Okay? Because a lot of them, especially, oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started, okay? Hold on, because I'm getting worked up. Don't even get me started on the ET extraterrestrials, how pompous they can be, how entitled they can be, how they just have figured out everything in the world and they know everything. And I'm like, yet and still, some type of way, you are connecting to humans on the earth who you feel like in some type of way are below you, which we have to get into consciousness and the avatar of the human, because for some type of reason they believe that human is a type of creature and it's not. It's a car. That's a whole... But some type of way, you are connecting into these humans and you are so advanced that you have figured out no way to seriously help them other than some type of passive, ridiculous excuse of that they're not evolved enough to actually help them stop killing each other. But you're the advanced civilization. You're the one that knows about... Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no way that a highly advanced being could come up to me and tell me that they're highly advanced and that their highly advanced thinking told them that like humans are in school And they need to learn how to bake babies in an oven in order to spiritually ascend. Like, do you hear how that sounds? So I'm like, okay, I'm a wholesome space, because obviously there are people that are in a lot of traditions, and these traditions have told them a lot of things. But I'm going to tell you from a very basic standpoint that you have done nothing to even deserve to even hold my child, yet alone for me to give you my child in whatever type of way. And it didn't seem like he wanted me to give him my child's soul or whatever, but it was like he needed my permission in order to work with this baby. I'm like, you ain't working with my child. Like, no, I don't even know you. I don't know you. Okay. So I was livid. I'm not gonna lie, I was livid. I was like, get out of my house. I kicked all the spirits out of my house, because I'm like, where are my spiritual bouncers at? Because I set a condition specifically not to let nobody in here. Nobody in here. And you set it up for this being to walk directly in here. I fired a lot of spiritual energies that day. I was heated. And not even like in a thing where I was just like mad the whole day, but I was like, okay, this is another example of how I set an intention and I've got oppositions in my energy that don't understand what protection means. So I'm like, okay, clear them all out and we're going to get some fresh energy in here, because obviously we ain't on the same page, because ain't no way. And then I was really upset with him, also from this like assumption that he in some type of way would be entitled because of who he's connected to or what he is, that some type of way that gives him access to a child that he's done nothing for. But also I'm like, I don't like your character, because why did you walk? You could have just asked me that and I would have told you no. But you thought that you're going to go around my consciousness to talk to other aspects of myself. And this is the crazy part, okay? So I was looking into him, which he didn't know that I could also look into him. Like, you're pulling on me, I can pull on you. I figured that out. That's why I try not to pull on people. I don't want you in my energy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want you in my energy field. So I try not to pull on people too much. Like, okay, like, cool. Because I know how I get. And so I'm like looking at him and I could see that he knew that this was going to land him in some type of hot water with a spiritual council. He knew that. And in his mind, he was like trying to get this indirect yes through something else to be like, well, on a technicality, she did say yes, to try to get a less harsh sentence. So he already knew that there was going to be backlash of him doing this, which obviously you know that, but he had a very clear vision that there was going to be backlash from that. So I was like, the fact that you would even try this, knowing how it's going to go, me and you both have seen it already, how it's going to go. And you already know that they're not going to let you off on a technicality of like, oh, well, technically she did say yes. Like at the end of the day, she did say yes. No, it matters how you got the yes. So some time went by, child, okay? Because December was wild. I'm not going to lie to you. It was crazy. I think I've said that on another podcast. Baby, it was crazy. My birthday was lit in the worst way. And the days after it, like Christmas, just like, oh my gosh. It was, woo. I'm a Capricorn, so I like Saturn energy. I find Saturn energy to be delicious. I love it. I understand it. But it was definitely doing its thing. It was going through a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it was going through a lot. And I'm just like, okay, girl, I'm here for you, girl. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for you, child. So anyways, some time went by and then this energy showed up, and this is the point that I'm getting to, okay? And I'm going to put this date too, because dates are significant. Numbers are very significant to this reality. So this energy showed up and I was like, what do you want? What you want? Because I ain't got nothing for you. Okay, what do you want? So as I was staring at him, I started to realize that his horns, right? Because bulls have horns. I started to realize that his horns were actually not black, that they had been painted black, and that they were actually ivory horns. And so I was like, oh, okay, so these are not organic horns. And so I went up to him, and this is in a dream middle space again. So this is kind of like waking dream space, the in-between again. And I saw him. And so instinctively, I went up to him and I was like, oh, these are inorganic horns. And so I was like tugging on them, and he was letting me tug on them. I was tugging on them to see if they came out, and they did. And it was almost like a puzzle piece, like someone had made a puzzle piece of these horns. And I was like, oh, he's cursed. That's why he's doing this. He's cursed. Someone has cursed him. And I was like, he must have been cursed by a pretty high up spirit, and they are having him do their bidding. And that's why he's constantly in these hot water situations, because he is cursed. He is cursed by an entity. And so as I was talking to him, I was like, who cursed you with this? Because I literally just took them out of his head. They weren't originally his, and he wasn't originally a black bull. So I'm like, who did this to you? Now, I'm not going to say, because I know how spirits get, okay? I done been around a few times, okay? And I ain't going to tell you who cursed this man. But it was definitely a high up spirit. And I don't even remember exactly, like, off the top of my head, but I'll write it down. But in a certain way, I have an aspect that was also cursed by the spirit at a point in time. Okay, and that's a long story. But I figured out how to get out of it without him having to lift it. And so I was also with that type of knowledge, and then seeing, you know, what type of karmic energy this energy had, I was able to map out a plan for him on how to get out of this cursed energy. So, you know, when you hear about, like, on TV and stuff like that, right? And you hear like in Maleficent, let's take Maleficent, that only the witch or wizard or whoever that sent the curse can revoke the curse. Well, if you know reality, then you know that there are always, thank goodness, and it's also really irritating as well because people use it for negative. There are always loopholes, though. So there are ways to get out of it. And I'll tell you, in a very simple way, the most simple way to get any type of negative thing off of you is to do good deeds. Genuinely good deeds. So not just like going out to help, you know, homeless people and help, you know, disability kids just to get a curse off of you. Like, you have to actually do internal shadow work to where you are at your core vulnerable and actually striving to be a good person, and then you will be on the road to helping people. And through those good deeds and actions, you start to add dharma to your karma, and then eventually you are more dharmic than karmic. And from that space, you will get the information on how to lift something off of you. Okay. Child, I just saw this piece of a tree that was like, hold on, because that's crazy though. I just saw this piece of a tree that's like touching the electric wire. Number one, I don't think it's always been doing that. And number two, I thought it was something flying in the air, child. I'm like, what? I'm like sitting in my car and I thought that this was something flying in there. I was like, look, reality then just got crazy. But is this a tree? Hold on, wait, I gotta see. Is this a tree? Oh, I'm tripping. That's the side. I'm looking at I mean, technically it is a tree, right? Because the telephone wire poles are trees. But I'm just looking at it from a weird angle. It's just a telephone pole. But I promise you, it looked like something flying in the sky, child. I'm like, what? Reality just got lit all of a sudden. So anyways, but one thing that I do feel called to share is that this energy told me that this person gave him a new name, a new identity, right? And that's pretty much the case for most beings and deities and everything, is that people observe something and say that they are like something. And so they are given identities. So you usually don't name yourself. Usually there are exceptions, and I'll talk about exceptions later, but usually you do not name yourself. And most of these deities did not name themselves. They were named in observation of people that were observing them or observing their life and what they represented. And then they gave them a name. And so we talked about it, and I was like, you know, what name do you want to have now, to, you know, as an act of taking back his identity, right? which of course, your name is not your whole identity and it's not necessary, but it is like a step, in, wanting to take back your identity. And in that sense, it is very important. I don't want you to think that like you have the wrong name. You need to totally rename yourself in order to, be in your full power. You can take a name that somebody gave you, even if it's a negative name, and you can still use it to your advantage because it's not your whole identity. But anyways, when I talked to him, and I'm going to get out of the car in a second, when I talked to him, he let me know that, that the name he wanted was Pierre. Okay. And that's the name that he wanted. So I will say that. And so here I'm going to end it, and I'm just going to double down on the idea and the fact that Valentine's Day is, of course, really important to have for your loved ones and the people that love you, but also a time to sweeten energies to you that are in opposition or that you don't have the best relationship with, and finding the reality where you can come together in some type of way, even if it's just being cordial, okay? Because opposition is a very heavy weight to carry. All right, my friends, that's what I have for you guys. Make sure that you do like, comment, subscribe, share this video with a friend. And I'm going to have to go inside because the baby is buzzing. And hoping that you have a really good Valentine's Day. And whenever you hear it, hoping that this energy quantumly reaches you and helps give you a boost of love. Bye. Actually, hold on, because I wanted to add this last part. And I'm holding my son right now. I wanted to add this last part. You can probably hear cloud babies in the back. Okay, this last part. Let's quickly talk about offerings versus sacrifices, okay? Sometimes or somewhere along the line, there was a confusion about what is a sacrifice and what is an offering. And that has translated into sacred animals of deities being seen as sacrifices. Okay, so I want to just put some simplicity to it, because a sacrifice and an offering are not the same, and a sacrifice can never be an offering. So harming animals is never an offering. Okay. Because something that is sacrificed is never a sacred animal of an entity. Okay. So on Valentine's Day, what we give to people that we love are things that they like. And it's supposed to bring them some type of joy and happiness. So an offering to someone that you love on Valentine's Day could be flowers, could be chocolate, could be a special present, could be a wedding ring. Those are offerings. A sacrifice on Valentine's Day would be to someone that you don't like and that you would go out of your way to do something negative to. And that could be, I don't know why I thought about toilet papering their house. That could be firing them from work because you don't like them as an employee. That could be taking a box of chocolates that they like and then complaining about what you don't like about that box. That's, in this connotation, the sacrifice. So there is never a sacred animal that is harmed for an entity. That is a sacred animal. It is an animal that is hated or not liked. Okay, so this black bull entity, blackballed entity was hated by this energy that it is associated to, because this entity wanted to see this black bull hurt, sacrificed, put in the line of fire. Okay. I just want to make that distinction between the sacrifice and the offering, because it has been very, very weirdly conflated, and they are not the same. So offerings to energies, their sacred animals, would be taking care of that animal animals. So let's say the favorite animal of Aphrodite is a pigeon or doves, Ishtar, pigeons and doves. Then you would set up a birdhouse and feed birds seeds and, other things that birds like. I don't really know what birds like besides seeds. you know, um, like if it's a horse, then you would, find baby horses and, raise them. Or maybe a crippled horse or a blind horse or something, you have to rehab them. Maybe, this sacred animal finds its way on your property and it's at the end of life, then you would be taking care of it until it passes away and then burying it with a tree or some type of seeds to plant and give new life to it. That is an offering to a sacred animal. Okay. Taking life or harming something is an act of violence, and it shows an act of hate. Sacrifice is never connected to love, ever. I just wanted to say that. Because also, if you pay attention to, I think Azrael actually is in the Bible, and he's the scapegoat entity. And he was the one that you would make sacrifices to, which were atonement to. That means that you've done something wrong and you are trying to get out of your punishment or whatever by sacrificing an animal who you believe is lesser than you. But you're going to offer their life force instead of yours to buy time for you to start doing the right thing. Now that is a very flawed system, and it doesn't work the same anymore. So like atonement is actually going and making atonement for what you've done. So there's no amount of chickens or whatever that is going to make atonements for anything that you have done. You have to make them yourself now. So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Bye, friends.